Alright, I think we're live. We'll get a minute here.
I'm gonna pull it up on my...
Yeah. Whoa. We'll see if there's any comments or anything.
Yeah.
Alright, we are live. We'll get a minute.
Yay.
I think there's some kind of staticky static.
I'm gonna pull it up on my...
Yeah. Whoa.
There is some staticky static.
That's weird. Hey, Mom? Can you hand me my headphones, please? I'm gonna see if my headphones work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, G-Bone.
Hopefully it's
welcome.
not me.
No, it's my fan, I think. Or can you still hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Hi, G-Bone.
Hopefully it's
welcome.
not me.
No, it's my fan, I think. Just making sure I could. Or can you still hear me? All right. Yeah. All right. I think we're good.
Yay.
G-Bone or whoever's in there, if you could hear me or Megan, let us know. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day today. Sorry we're late. As soon as Megan got on, we just started chatting away, and me with my ADHD and her just being her.
I also have ADHD-like symptoms, as I just found out the other day, so same thing. So I get it. Holy shit, I can't believe this. Somebody says in the chat.
You must be super famous. I got so many people like...
It's odd. It's so strange. Like, especially when I like cross realms, like into like finance, YouTube or whatever, and I like comment on a video and people are like, "Oh my god, I did not expect to see you there," and I'm here and I'm like, I am a normal consumer of the YouTubes. But yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, I don't even have 5,000 subs yet, and I had somebody, like, I just said hi on their channel or something, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so starstruck. It's you. You're here." I'm like,
That's awesome.
I don't even have 5,000 subs. Like, I'm not Mr. Beast.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend, we were Ubering back from doing something, and our Uber driver had seen my videos, and that was the weirdest, like, full circle-iest moment ever. I was just, like, speechless when she was like, "Oh, I've seen your videos." I'm like, "What? What now?" Yeah, no, that is so strange. It is so, because it's still, for me, it's just like I'm talking to myself to a camera.
Yep.
That's
That's it. I just talk to a camera, and
yeah.
But it is great when people are like, "You inspire me to change so much. You're doing so awesome." So
Yeah,
I
I get
definitely...
a lot of amazing DMs and comments and everything, and that's like honestly what keeps me doing this sometimes. And so yeah, it's pretty cool. But it's also very weird because I'm just like a normal person who lives a very normal life. But yeah.
So Megan Ann, welcome to Big Talks with Big T.
Thank you.
I am glad that you're here with us.
Funny.
Oh yeah, you're recovering from COVID, so we understand if...
It actually was not COVID. It was not COVID.
Oh,
It
was
felt
it?
like COVID, so yeah, who knows? But yeah.
There is some thing going around. My pastor's had it for like a month. My mom just got bronchitis. I know so many people got the crud right now. So
yeah, it's just that time.
All right, so first we're gonna sort of just introduce you to our channel, which I think everybody knows you on my channel anyways, because you're a superstar. But if you want to introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what your channel is, what you cover, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm Megan Ann, if you have not seen my content. I started off as like a weight loss surgery channel. That's what I mainly talked about in the beginning. But I've also, throughout that time, started talking about fat acceptance and my experience kind of growing up with that in my late adolescence. And I do like reactions and commentary. I'm starting to get more into like research-based kind of content, based around the same kind of themes. And yeah, I just kind of make whatever I feel like, but a lot of it has to do with like weight loss, the internet, like how it can be a bad place, that kind of stuff, because it's been like a big part of my life, my whole life. So um, yeah, but I have had weight loss surgery. I started at 315 pounds and lost about 100 pounds total. So yeah, yep, that's me.
I really think there's a growing number of channels like ours that talk about these issues. Whereas mostly it's just a lot of the fat acceptance people who are the loudest, but there's like a counter revolution going on right now, and
Yeah, I think it's also interesting because like a lot of I feel like a lot of the content around fat acceptance and that kind of stuff, like kind of going against it, is very can be very petty and negative. So
mhm.
I try to kind of be like a good middle voice, and you are too, and that's why I really liked your content. Because it's hard because like you can empathize with those people
Mhm.
and you can see where they're coming from, but also you're able to see like the negative sides of it as well, which some people are not able to do that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I get a lot of mixed reactions when I talk about that sort of thing, and I even did it today because I did a hungry fat chick video, and
Mm-hmm.
most of the people were like, "Wow, that was very empathetic. Thank you very much. We could tell that you love people, etc." But then there's always that person who comes on and is like, "Screw them. They
Mm-hmm.
did that to themselves. They deserve that. Like, why are you showing them any kind of sympathy?" And it's
Yeah,
like,
and it goes both ways. Like it's a very nuanced conversation, and
hmm
I feel like the internet just in general lacks nuance with anything, and so I like bringing the nuance to the conversation. And again,
yeah,
that's what really stood. That's what made you stick out to me was you weren't just like, "Ha ha, fat people doing thing," like,
yeah,
"Oh my god," because that's what I see a lot.
hmm
So yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's totally what a lot of the bigger people do. It's like, oh, I get clicks and views by doing fat people things and showing
Mm-hmm,
my belly and
mm-hmm,
this and that. But I mean, I totally understand like towing a line and being like, we need to be tough against this sort of thing,
mm-hmm.
but also
Yeah.
being sympathetic and understanding why people are obese to begin with.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think a lot of skinny people, and I don't mean just skinny, but normal sized people
Mm,
who've never been obese a day in their life really understand the
yeah.
complexities of it. They just think,
It's a
oh, that person has no self control. They did it to themselves. They deserve that. It's like, it's a lot deeper than that, a lot deeper.
yeah, it's so much deeper than that. And now that I've like started um, like treatment for my mental health and everything, like new treatment other than just like depression and anxiety stuff, which has been in my life for like 11 years, but like other like my ADHD like symptoms and stuff like that that I've been told that I have. It's so interesting to see how much that probably would have helped me if it was diagnosed sooner.
Hmm.
Because for me, I never realized like how much those affected my impulse control. And because I never really had like a eating disorder. Like I never had that. I my eating was obviously like disordered, but it was never like a mental issue. Like it wasn't a mental illness for me. And for me, I think a lot of it had to do with like just lack of impulse control.
Hmm.
Because now that I've started on medication, I've lost like 11 pounds because I just don't eat all the time.
That's
Because
awesome.
I have that like I have that self control really, and which I thought I had already, but I guess I didn't. And it's very interesting. And there's that, and there's emotional aspects and familial aspects, and like I know there's a big argument about genetics, but like
Hmm.
I truly believe that it is genetics,
Hmm.
because like my whole family, like generations, a lot of them have weight issues, and
Yeah.
so like it's just yeah, it's a very complex topic, And I really hate when people boil it down to like, oh, this person's just lazy and doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like doing anything, because that's not it at
Yeah.
all. At all.
I mean, you could
So,
totally see it, especially in the South, where
mm,
it's really big amongst families. It is big amongst
yes.
certain races. You
Yep.
know, we definitely don't deny that.
Nope.
It's a major genetic component. It is. In my family, I'm the only big guy, the only big
Mm-hmm.
person. Um, Even my last name means son of the short man, and everybody in my
Mm-hmm.
family's short. I'm the tallest person in my family and the
Yeah.
whitest. So I don't know. Is it a genetic thing? My mom told me when I was a baby that I could not stop eating food. Like
Mm.
she would give me a bottle and I would just
Yeah.
eat that sucker like it was the last meal on earth and I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't stop and I'd scream if I needed some more. And I'm like, wow, that doesn't sound like it's nature versus nurture to me. That sounds like I was born with something that
Yeah.
drives
And
me
I
to need to eat.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that is just yet to be kind of researched, or
Mm-hmm.
like there hasn't been enough research on it yet. And I think it'll be really interesting when that it kind of gets to a point where we can have that. Also, sorry if you can hear my girlfriend in the back coughing. She's sick with what I had, so yeah. But yeah, so I think that's why I try and stick with like a middle ground when it comes to approaching these people as much as possible. Um, Tough love is a good way to put it,
Yeah.
because like I needed that and I got it and it saved my life. So that was, yeah, because it is a really nuanced topic. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because
and it's cyclical. I feel
yeah,
like.
when we talk about these issues, we're not trying to make up excuses for why people
Mm-mm,
are overweight. We're just
mm-mm,
trying to be real about it. Like
mm-hmm.
if we're going to get to the bottom of it, we need to figure it out. We need to
Yep.
realize that it's more than just willpower. It's more than just because
Yeah.
somebody's lazy. There
Yeah.
are mental illness components to it. There are trauma. In my case, I went through mental,
Mm-hmm.
physical, and sexual abuse
Yeah.
as a kid through my whole
Yeah.
childhood. There are poverty reasons for it. There
Poverty is
are
a big one that
yeah
nobody wants to talk about, because then it leads to this whole other conversation that nobody wants to talk about, like with like just societal things and systemic things that like are affecting certain groups of people,
hmm
and then can lead to obesity, which then leads to the obesity epidemic that we're in. Nobody wants to talk about that, and so nobody like I feel like a lot of people just leave that out of the conversation completely. Um, because like yeah, food is expensive.
hmm
Eating healthy can be more expensive, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's there's not really that much of a difference anymore from what I've seen in my own food buying experiences. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Um, yeah, it's just I hate when people like forget the nuance or just don't even recognize the nuance that exists in that conversation. So yeah.
I'll take a moment here and say hi to people in the chat. Hi,
Yeah.
Dairy Free Brie Cheese. Interesting name. Hi, Scout. Good to see you, Nightlight. Just another rando. Hardly Dan. McKenna. Welcome, welcome. If anybody has, and Banny Rose, if anybody has any questions for me or Megan, feel free to interact with us, ask us a question, get involved in the conversation. We
Yeah,
would,
I see someone is asking, would you mind sharing the medication that made the difference? And I'm assuming that's like in regards to like me talking about how it affected or how it's helping my impulse control.
yeah,
I'm, excuse me, I'm not going to talk about it on this live stream. I am going to talk about it in a video in a little bit. It's kind of just something for some reason that I'm like keeping close to my chest for a little bit until things are sorted out and ready, because I don't want to talk about my experience with a medication for it to just like not work four
yeah.
months down the line. So yeah, um, but if you feel like that could be a thing, definitely talk to your doctor, because I didn't even know that was a thing. So there's lots of different medications out there that can help with that kind of stuff. So, and it's all about you and your brain chemistry and what works and what doesn't. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point too. It's like a lot of people give up on themselves
Mm-hmm.
and they don't realize that, oh, I could be having a mental issue. It took me 20 years to
Mm-hmm.
figure that out, that I was an
Yeah.
emotional eater.
Yeah.
Or somebody said they had a food allergy. And as soon as
Mm-hmm.
they figured that out, like they were
Mm-hmm.
able to lose weight. You should go get that checked out. You should talk to,
Asking for help
yeah.
is like not a bad thing at all. Like it's I finally asked for help again 5 years out from weight loss surgery like a couple months ago, and it was the best thing ever because now I'm on like a really good path again. And so asking for help or like just going to your doctor and being like, hey, I feel like something else might be afoot here is never like a bad thing to do. Like that's what they're there for. So
Yeah, but there's so
yeah,
much shame with obesity, and people think, oh, I just did it to myself. There's nothing
yeah,
else but my own lack of willpower.
yeah,
Because that's what they've been told their whole lives, that they're afraid
yeah.
to step out, ask for help, go to the doctor,
Mm-hmm.
see what it could be, get blood tests drawn,
Yeah,
see a psychologist, therapist, whatever.
yeah, and that is like the hardest part of that whole thing is that's like the one thing that I agree with fat acceptance on. Maybe not to the extent that they talk about it, and like as they or maybe not as big of a deal as they think it is. But like I do really think that there are some prejudices in the medical system
Hmm.
towards fat people, like because I I have a chronic illness, and I've had it since I was 16. It's called chronic fatigue syndrome. I've talked about it on my channel a bunch, but basically, like I'm some level of physically exhausted and mentally exhausted all the time. But it just like fluctuates from every day, from day to day. And certain days, like I can't move, like I can't get out of bed, like I can barely do anything. And but when I went through that, I was like I said, I was 16, 17, and I was like 250 pounds, 260 at the time, and I was in high school, and so pretty much all of the doctors told me like, yes, this could be this, but it could also be like you could also need to lose weight, basically, and it was like, um, and it was like I felt so discouraged. Like I finally got, because getting diagnosed for that is basically just getting everything else that it could be ruled out, right? And so, yeah, and so I was honestly scared to start losing weight, intentionally, because I was like, what if all these people are right? Like, what if I'm just automatically going to start feeling better? Like, um, and this whole 6, 7 years of my life was just because I brought it upon myself, and like I could have done something about it this whole time. But surprise, weight loss and everything has actually made it worse.
Hmm.
So, in my opinion, just from what I remember, um, because I feel like the caloric deficit with weight loss surgery, the stress that put on my body for the first year or so, um, increasing exercise, like those are all things that make it flare up really bad sometimes. And so, yeah, it's just really interesting because I'm like, oh, okay, I actually do have this, and like losing weight really didn't help anything. And that was like a big kind of eye opener for me because I was
Hmm.
like, wow, every single doctor I saw was like, yes, it could be this, but it could also be that you just need to lose weight. And yeah, hearing that over and over and over again over the course of like a year was horrible as a
Hmm.
16-year-old child. So yeah, but yeah, I do think there is a lot of uh, prejudices against fat people in the medical system, and
Hmm.
it's sad because it stops people from wanting to get help. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I used to be on the other end of that argument where I was like, no, if doctors tell you you need to lose weight, there's a reason for that. But I should also keep my mind open that there is a lot of discrimination and bias and stuff like that
yeah.
that does happen.
Especially for women. Like for women, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
Because there's already, I feel like, a lot of discrimination, or not discrimination, but prejudices against women in the medical system. Like everything we go through is like hormones and blah. And so like being a fat woman or young woman going through this was like mind-boggling for me. And like it wasn't even as bad as it could have been, but um, yeah, so I think keeping your mind open about that kind of stuff is also very important because it exists.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, yeah.
So my friend Scout is a huge fan of yours. She also lives in Denver and she wants to lift
Oh,
with you sometime.
amazing. That's awesome.
She's a sweet girl.
I'm waiting to like run into somebody. That hasn't happened yet, but I am like waiting for the day and I will poop my pants.
She's probably outside your place right now.
Probably.
Just kidding.
Just
Um,
looking up.
just discovered both your channels. Thank you, Timothy.
Yeah, thank you.
I have MS, and the worst symptom is a soul-crushing chronic fatigue. I have ADHD as well, and ADHD meds get me up and moving, but there's a shortage, so I'm struggling.
Yeah, that is brutal. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's the thing with my ADHD is it's untreated, so
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
it impacts my life so much, so
I've
much.
been hearing more and more and more about the ADHD medication shortage right now, and it just sounds horrifying. So,
It's weird since my weight loss surgery the past few months, I've been um, having moments where I'm in a lot of fatigue and exhausted, and I just feel like my whole body is racked with pain. Like
mm-hmm.
if you see me like moving a lot, it's because I'm in pain right now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so I kind of move up and down, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'll be like, I'll go 2 weeks, I'll be fine, no problems. I'm like, yeah, I just lost 180 pounds. My knees feel great. I'm able to do
Yeah.
stuff. And then I'll just be hit with just this fatigue. I'm like, I don't know what that is. If I should see my doctor about it, if my vitamins are off or something. But um, yeah, it was just
It
since.
could be because vitamin deficiency is like a big thing post weight loss surgery, and so that could very well be it. I've noticed a difference now that I'm finally starting to take my multivitamin regularly again in my energy levels and all of that kind of stuff. Because I just don't think. I mean, it is true. Like your stomach just doesn't absorb
Mhm.
vitamins the way that it used to. So
And
that is something to
and
look
that's the
into.
thing with my ADHD is I always forget to take my vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
And when I
Mm-hmm.
do, they want me to take like four of them a day, and I just take two because I got so
Mm-hmm.
nauseous when I did take them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you take the ones that are? Is that for multivitamins?
I take the bariatric fusion. I don't know if you could see
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be four in a day, four
Oh
times
God.
daily.
Okay. Yeah. I started with one of those too, and I also could not handle it. I went to a doctor, and they're like, "Why are you doing this? You can get all of those in one multivitamin." And so I take the Berry Advantage ones with iron, and those you only take once a day, and it's
Okay,
all the same values, like or all the same levels of everything.
well that would be
It can
so
look a
much more
little
helpful.
funky, but it is way easier because I couldn't do the 4 a day ones either. That's what I started on too, and I could not do that. It made me so sick. Like it made me feel very nauseous. So,
And they're very chalky, like eating Tums, but worse. And I guess it's
yep.
the iron in them or something. Like you're not supposed to, like your body doesn't like you
Yes.
taking iron that way. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I take two of them and I'd feel like I was gonna throw up. So I'm like,
Yeah, these are
I'm not
just
taking it anymore.
capsules when you swallow them like a pill. So, it still has a lot of iron in it, but you don't get as icky feeling. So, yeah.
Ooh, Kayla Shea is watching. We just talked about how
Kayla.
much we both love you, Kayla.
Yes.
Medical fat phobia is real and it makes people afraid to get the help they need. There's a lot of nuance to that conversation. Hope you both are
Mm-hmm.
doing well. Love y'all. Well, we love you too, Kayla. The only problem is that fat acceptance is fear mongering and making it seem like every time a doctor tells you to lose weight, it's fat phobic. It
Mm-hmm.
could be very legitimate and not prejudiced, and people get to.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I was told to lose weight for many legitimate reasons as well, and like I always saw it as like, yes, that makes sense. Like that adds up. That's fine. But yeah.
But the doctor should do his or her job and
Mm-hmm.
test you and rule out everything
Absolutely.
else. And
Yeah,
if
they
there's,
shouldn't be like, oh, just lose weight, and
yeah.
that's because that's happened. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I mean, I had a doctor once just didn't even look at me, just stared at the computer. What's wrong? She'd type it in. Okay, it's this.
that's awful.
And like
That
made me
sounds
take
like.
medication that made me completely exhausted, like
Mm-hmm.
in the couch all day, could not move. I was so exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And after like 2 weeks, I'm like, I can't even work. I can't do nothing. I'm exhausted. She goes, well, then you're supposed to take two of them. It's not supposed to, maybe if you take
Okay.
two, you'll do better. So I'm like, all right, I started taking two, and it's like even worse. It's like, I'm not
Yeah.
seeing you anymore. You didn't
Yeah.
examine me. You didn't do any blood test or nothing. You just stared at your computer.
Yeah, I had to break up with my first bariatric doctor that I met with out here because I moved out to Denver from Michigan just around the 1 year mark from my surgery. And so I wanted to get established with a clinic out here. And that was probably one of like the worst bariatric slash doctor experiences I've ever had. um, and I felt really bad for the people that went to his clinic because I was talking to one of his patients in the waiting room before I went in, and I was just getting so many red flags. I was like, oh God, this is not a good place.
Mm.
And then I had my appointment, and I was like, yeah, I'm not coming here again. It was not a good experience.
So,
Which, yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Oh,
I can't even remember what I was going to say.
I'm gonna say, why did you leave this wonderful state? Like,
So, where do you live in Michigan?
I live near Flint. I live in Davison, which is
Okay,
about
yeah.
15 miles outside of Flint.
Okay, yeah. I lived in Marquette, which is in the UP, the Upper Peninsula, and I was born and raised there. My whole family was there, or is there, which is awesome. It's great to go back to. But I just needed to get out of there. Like, I needed to leave. Like, I felt like I had kind of not outgrown it because I love going back, but I just felt like there was more for me to see of the world. And I always knew that I wasn't going to stay there. And so, yeah, the winters there up
Oh,
in the UP are
brutal.
brutal. Like, they are awful. I know the lower peninsula gets really bad winters too, but the ones in the upper peninsula, because of Lake Superior, are brutal. Like, they are really, really bad. And it just started taking a toll on me a lot and mentally. And now that I've moved to Colorado, which is like statistically the sunniest state in the country, I have noticed what a huge difference that makes for me. And yeah, I love both places. But it was just time for me to leave because I had spent the first 22 years of my life there.
I
So,
absolutely love Michigan. I think it's one of the most beautiful states, but I cannot stand those 3 months in winter when it's nothing but lake effect clouds.
ours is 6
Six. Ugh.
up in the UP. Yeah, ours is 6 months. It goes from like end of October ish, maybe beginning of November, if the universe is feeling generous, up until like May or June.
Mm.
Like, that is, yeah. And I remember because the first winter, or the last winter before I left, we were in like the peak of the polar vortex that year. And it was the worst winter we'd had in 65 years. And even my grandparents were like, yeah, we have not seen a winter this bad since then. Um, and yeah, so after that, I was like very much over it. I was like, I can't do this again. And even when I go home for Christmas and stuff, like, I just get bummed for like a week because there's no sun. And I'm happy to be home,
Yeah.
but I'm just like just mopey all the time because there's no sun anymore. And yeah, I do miss the lake though. I miss the lake a lot. Growing
Mm.
up on Lake Superior was very cool. But now I have the mountains, so yeah.
Yeah, like, it's a good trade-off.
It's a very good trade-off.
I
I
lived
took
in
my dad to see the mountains for the first time in his life last summer, and it was very cool.
yeah, I lived in Bend,
So,
Oregon for about a year, and to go out there and see the mountains was just something else. I love mountains, and as I told you, I was born in Denver too, so
mm-hmm.
I got that part in me. But I did grow up
Yeah.
in Houston, Texas, so um, I moved from Houston to Michigan when I was 13 with my dad, and so I think that played a part in how I get seasonal affective disorder every winter.
Yes.
I just can't stand the
Yes.
clouds. I mean, I'm like, I don't care how
Everybody
gold it
said.
gets. If I get some sunshine, I'm fine.
See, and
But
my issue was that I had seasonal affective disorder, and just regular like standard depression. So like I got doubly sad in the, in the
Mm.
winter, and when I started my bariatric program, when they did all my panels and stuff, my doctor was like, "Your vitamin D is like incredibly low, like one of the lowest I have seen." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So they had to put me on like prescription strength vitamin D for like 4 months or something like that. And yeah, I was like, I'm not surprised, but I was not expecting it to be that bad.
You're like, your
Like
vitamin
six
D
months.
is in the negatives.
Yeah, they were like, it's not good. We need to do something about this. So yeah, yeah. So you're 3 months. It's 6 months in the UP.
Okay.
So it's not fun.
So hi, Lady Hawk. Good to see you. I'm glad you enjoy our content. Hi, Car Beth. Good to see you, Anthony McKinney. Awesome. Um, so let's get into some of these questions I had prepared for
Yeah.
you. So we often talk a lot about rock bottom moments when you're obese, you're at your worst, and it kind of like kicks you in the teeth. You just kind of like something happens to you. You realize I can't keep going this way. And I often ask my guests what their rock bottom moment was. So can you share what yours was and what drove you to getting weight loss surgery?
Yeah, so I luckily, and I say this in hindsight, I luckily had mine like pretty early on in my life. I was like 21 ish. And yeah, so what happened was at that time I really started um, feeling my weight a lot, like just moving around the world. Like it just, I could feel my body, like just being a body. And like I'd get shin splints walking around campus. Like that's how bad. And my campus was not big at all in college. But what really did it for me was I was already like pre-diabetic and on medication for that. Um, but what really did it was I just had like routine blood work done after a physical, and my kidney function or my liver function, it's not kidney function, sorry, my liver function was like not normal at all, and it was gonna lead me down the path to getting like non-alcoholic fatty liver. And I already knew that like ran in my family because my grandma had it, and that really scared me for some reason. Like for some reason, that was like what really really scared me. Um, I didn't really have like a moment or like a thing happen, but like that result really really scared me, and I was like, well, there's only one way to like fix this, and that's losing weight.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I also was just feeling really unhappy as well, and for no particular reason. And I like other like even with depression and stuff, like I just was feeling really unhappy. And I was like, what's the one thing in your life that's like you feel like is holding you back or like is making you unhappy or whatever, and can you fix it? And like the answer was my weight, and yes, I could fix it. And so um, I honestly went straight to wanting some kind of weight loss surgery, because I had tried so much. Like I tried everything at that point in my life. Like my weight was always a point of conversation with doctors and my parents and stuff like that. And I tried everything. Um, so I knew I wanted some sort of bariatric surgery, and I knew that was also the time to do it because I was still on my dad's insurance. And my dad had very good insurance, and so I was like, this is the time to get this done. And also I was still in school, which made it harder, but also it's easier to do than when you're like living your own life and that kind of thing. So yeah, I wound up getting vertical sleeve gastrectomy in September 2018.
Hmm.
And yeah, I lost 100 pounds. I think also getting over 300 pounds. Like, I always had this number in my mind of like, okay, if I ever get here, then like weight loss surgery time. Like, that's basically where my mind was. And 300 was my number. And yeah, So that's what basically caused it, or that was what my like rock bottom moment was when my body was functioning like not that of a 21-year-old. And yeah, and so it was the best thing I ever did for myself. So I can't complain, but it was a hard decision to come to. I feel like it's a very vulnerable, hard decision to make, to realize that like you've gotten yourself here for like more or less, and now it's time to go back to being healthy, or start being healthy for the first time in your life. So
Yeah,
yeah, but that was.
that non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome is what scared me too,
Mm-hmm,
um, because I was starting to get high liver enzymes,
mm-hmm,
and I was like, oh, okay, you know, my liver's not doing too well right now, um, and so I didn't know that what fatty liver was. She just said, oh, your enzymes are getting high. We should probably do
yeah,
some deeper testing on that with you.
yeah,
And so when I actually started researching it, I'm like, it scared the crap out of me. It's like,
yeah.
if I can get cirrhosis of the liver and being my size, guess what? There's no liver transplant at 600
Mm-mm,
pounds.
mm-mm,
So it's like,
yeah,
the only way to fix that is to lose weight. There's
yeah,
nothing
and
else at my size that you can do.
yeah, and for me, like I was so young, and I was like, I have so much time for this to get so much worse. So like, I have to start doing something now,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's ultimately what led me to go down that path. So
When you look at cirrhosis, it's a very painful death.
it's scary. Yeah, it's long, painful. Yeah, it's not good.
So, was there a time when you might have considered yourself as part of the fat acceptance movement when you were at your heaviest before you had your rock bottom moment?
Um, yes. So I think like in the way that, especially when I was like featured on Obese to Beast channel and stuff, um, he kind of referred to me as like an ex-fat activist. But like I was really young. I was like 16, 17-ish when I started finding a lot of the bigger fat acceptance creators on the Instagram. Um, and really, I just interacted with their content a lot. I took in a lot of their content, both on Instagram and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Um, sorry. I but for me, it was more just like, again, growing up a girl, especially in the early 2000s, like you didn't see fat people anywhere, specifically fat women anywhere that weren't like the butt of the joke, or which I mean that's the thing for fat guys too. Like I like
Hmm.
fat people in general in media are always like the butt of the joke, the second character, like the side character, that kind of thing. And so it was cool to see fat women on social media, like just living their lives, wearing cute clothes from brands I'd never heard of, um, all that kind of stuff, because fashion and self-expression have always been really important to me. Um, and so I went into what wound up being the fat acceptance movement, like thinking, oh, that was gross. I'm so sorry. I'm so mucusy right now. I I went into what wound up being the fat acceptance movement thinking it was like the body positivity movement, because that's what it was very much like being branded as at the time, was the body positivity movement. But now a lot of the same people are saying the same things under like the fat acceptance realm, like shield base or like umbrella. And so I never really agreed with their talking points of um, like your doctor weighing you is fat phobic, or like your doctor
Hmm.
telling you to lose weight is fat phobic, or whatever. I never really agreed with that, but like a lot of the things they talked about when it came to like society and like how fat people and fat women are treated in society, I took as like gospel. And honestly, I think it did a big number on my mental health, thinking that I think it made me think that a lot more people cared about me when like they didn't.
Mm.
And it made me a lot more anxious and that kind of thing. And a lot of like what they talked about with dating and stuff, because like at that point I hadn't dated anybody, and like So I was like, oh, people aren't attracted to me because I'm fat, like whatever, and like it's honestly counterproductive what they talk about, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I would say that I was part of the fat acceptance community, but like I wasn't actively like posting about it or talking about it or anything. I just took in a lot of the messaging at a very young age, and I really remember starting to having to like deconstruct what I had been taking in for so long, as I started getting healthier and realizing that a lot of the stuff they were talking about wasn't true or wasn't as true or serious as they were making it out to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's one of
definitely.
those things where when you are that big and you haven't really dated anybody, I still
Mm-hmm.
haven't. I'm still
Yeah,
waiting for that moment.
yeah,
Um, but I could never see myself going to the side of, well, you people are fat phobic if you don't want to date me.
right. And um, I did believe that for a while. I didn't use the term fat phobic, but like I did get angry because I was like, oh, dude, like men only want like thin women and blah blah blah, which like is not true. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have since learned that that is not true, because even at my lowest, I wasn't like thin. I was still like 195 pounds. Like I was not thin by any means, and I had a lot of loose skin.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so like that is not true in my experience. And Denver has like the highest like count of single men to single women. Like it's the highest ratio. So like I've dated a lot of dudes, and so that was not true. And I have wide subject, or I have a wide range of research finding out that that was not true. And but it is hard. Like it's really hard to grow up like being told that. And um, again, like women have such strict beauty standards put upon them, like from the beginning, and so I feel like those play a part, and weight does play a part sometimes. But I feel like having my faves on the internet constantly telling me that like, oh, people aren't attracted to you because you're fat, was like really, really uh, disheartening, because I was like, to get not fat is going to take a really long time. So, like, does that mean that nobody's going to be attracted to me until I up for like 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really sad. And yeah, I think it's hard being told that all the time growing up, and even in adulthood, because like I was a late bloomer, so like I didn't have my first boyfriend type thing. I didn't start dating anybody until I was 23,
Mm.
almost 24. And so, like, that's a pretty late bloomer, like, for my generation at least. And so, um, yeah, but I don't really care that I had to wait that long. It made it, like, everything a lot better because I was just in a better mental state. But um, yeah, I just think that talking point's really interesting because like preferences are preferences, and you can't do anything about that.
Yeah,
So
that's true. You
yeah,
can't force
yeah.
somebody to like you if they're not interested
No,
in
and
you at
why
that
would you
size.
want to? That's the thing. Like a lot of fat acceptance people, women, are always like, "Oh, I'm so hot. Like, why wouldn't you want to date me?" It's like because you don't want. They don't want to. Like, they don't want to. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. It's a preference thing. Move on. Because why would you want to convince somebody to be attracted to you? That sounds miserable. And I've been there, so I can say that it's miserable.
I mean, I understand what that feels like because I'm 39, all right,
Mm-hmm.
and I've still always been single,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I feel so lonely at times, like
Yeah.
wishing somebody would come into my life. But it's like I'm also thinking like I need to lose the weight first.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Because,
I'm not
yeah,
going
your
to force
body's going to
people.
change.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Yeah.
force people to like me. And the women who would like me, especially at my heaviest, are probably not the women that I'd want to be with because they'd want to
Mm-hmm.
keep me big.
Yes.
So it's like it's hard
And,
for me to think that okay maybe by this time next year I will be in better shape, women would be more attracted to me, that sort of thing. Um, Even though I do get a lot of women now on my channel, like, you're so hot, Big T. But um,
That's awesome.
but it's like in person, it's different. I don't get that same reaction. People are just don't turn their heads to oh, that guy's kind of cute, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it's very hard to think. Yeah, in a year from now, I will have lost enough weight that maybe I'll be attractive. And so it would be easy to just be like, well, you're fat phobic. You're just
Yeah.
prejudiced against fat people. That's why you won't date me. It's like, why would I want to force somebody to date me? It's my
Exactly.
responsibility to get to a size where women would find me more attractive. Because I totally understand. It's like, if I wanted to be a good husband, a good father, which is what I hope to be,
Yeah.
then I know I need to lose the weight. Like, there's no other way around that. Like, at my current size, I cannot be a good husband or a good father.
Yeah. And that's a thing. That's the thing too. Is like I don't think I realized like how much I like wasn't capable of doing when I was at my biggest size,
Mm-hmm.
even at 300 pounds. Like a young 300 pounds too. Like I was pretty mobile. Like I was fine. Like I was never like immobile. It never stopped me from doing things. But I just never realized like how much easier life would be if I
Mm-hmm.
was more physically fit. Um, and yeah, and I look back at like pre weight loss me, and I'm just like, I was not, well, I was also very young, but like, I was not ready to start dating. Like, I just wasn't. And I don't understand how people can date in like high school and like early college because like you have no idea who you are. I didn't know I still don't know who I am. I don't know if I'll ever know who I am, but like I just came out like last year in June, and I was 26, or 25, and so like that was a huge step. And so I feel like losing weight was kind of the first step into me stepping into myself and really figuring out who I am because I couldn't use my weight as a shield anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I ever really did, but I think I did more than I thought I was at the time. Um, and yeah, I'm a big plus losing weight is a very you have to get very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I didn't have time. Like I flat out told my friends I was like I'm probably going to be like kind of silent for a while. Like I'm probably not going to be able to do things like whatever because I have to focus on this. Like this is very important. And maintaining and nurturing a relationship while doing that, I feel like would be really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I'm losing weight again, but I feel like since I've done the bulk of it now, it's like, okay, I know what I have to do. It becomes very routine for me very easily, but when you're first doing it, everything's difficult, everything's new. And you're going to learn. I know you're older than me, but, like, I learned so much about myself as I started losing more weight and
Mm-hmm.
like about me and who I am and how I function as a person outside of being like a fat person. And knowing that is very important to finding a good relationship. So,
Yeah, I actually posted that on a forum the other day. I'm like, losing all this weight, I'm finding out a lot of new things about myself,
mhm,
new
mhm,
passions, new things that I like
yeah,
doing, about myself, mentally, physically.
mhm,
But I'm willing to bet, and you don't have to get too graphic about it, but I'm sure once you've lost the weight, your love life, intimacy, all that stuff skyrocketed. Like,
oh, it started. It hadn't started yet. Like
mm,
I didn't have a love life, an intimacy life, whatever, until after I started losing weight. And I think a lot of it wasn't even because of my outward appearance. I think it had to do a lot with my just confidence in myself and
yeah.
like actually feeling good about myself. And it helped a lot, and um, it made me feel a lot more comfortable in myself to like actually go out and get out there and like meet people. In my really small town, it was really hard. Um, but once I moved to Denton, because I'm generations deep, like where I'm from,
Hmm.
and so like everybody knows my parents, everybody knows like my aunts and uncles, and like whatever, and so it was very hard. And so when I moved to Denver, that was when I really got to kind of like spread my wings and like get out there and meet people and date for the first time. And yeah, it has helped a lot. I think I was a lot stronger minded as well, just about myself and my life and my priorities, um, than I was before I lost weight. But it did also open up a whole other can of worms
Yeah.
of like insecurities and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much, Kayla, for the $5. Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
We got Sherry complimenting you on your glasses.
Thank you.
Hi, Car Beth thinks I'm awesome, but too young for her. So if I wanted to move somewhere to find single women, Denver is not the place to go because there's too many single guys there.
There are so many single men here. Yes, it is like a nightmare. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I saw this meme, and it was like moving to Colorado is the male equivalent of getting bangs, because like it's a meme that like you get bangs when you're going through a life crisis as a girl. And I was like, I moved to Colorado and then I got bangs. So like, what does that say about me? I don't know. I'm not a dude, but like, yeah, there are so many single men in Denver. It's probably not the place for you. Um, if you want to meet. I mean, there's lots of beautiful women here, though. Oh my god, amazing. Batting for both teams and everything in between is very fun here. Um,
I
but
have a
yeah,
lot more questions for you, but I'm asked two more if you got the time. I know
yeah,
we're at
I'm
time.
here.
Um, so we were touching a little bit about the beauty standards for women. Is that why you think that more women are in the fat acceptance movement? Is because of the crazy beauty standards, and so the pendulum has swung so far in the opposite direction?
Absolutely. And I talked about it on my channel in a video a long time ago, about how I do think that there are really unfair beauty standards for men as well, like for sure. Um, but then I actually kind of like thought about it, and I was like, yes, there are, but we've had trends like the dad bod being like favorable and like whatever, which I understand. Um, but like you never hear about like the mom bod, or oh, your camera shut off.
I'm just gonna sit up for a second. I'll
Oh,
keep
okay.
talking.
um, you never hear about um, like the mom bod or anything like that. And uh, I feel like women have always, always, always just been put under a microscope and with how we look. And I feel like that's why a lot of people go to the body positivity movement, which unfortunately usually winds up being the fat acceptance movement, to try and find some sort of community of women that look like them, and maybe go through the same like societal things that they go through, because that is important, because it is a thing, and it's becoming more and more talked about now. But like in the like 2010s, early 2000s, it just was not a thing. And yeah, I think that is overwhelmingly why like the fat acceptance people are more often than not like women. And yeah.
So, how would you think that we could counter that argument a little bit? It's like it's okay to love yourself. It's okay to feel beautiful. You are beautiful. You are a worthy human being.
Yeah.
But if we talk about obesity issues, we're not saying you don't deserve anything. We're not saying that you're not worthy of love or attention. But obesity is dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yeah.
shouldn't like try to force people to accept you because of your size, and you shouldn't accept yourself that way because you deserve better than that. And I often
Yeah.
say that obesity is self-harm,
Yeah.
and whether or not you agree with that statement or not,
I can see it. I
it's
can see that argument.
when I talk
Because
about it's yeah. Go ahead.
sorry, because I always talk about, because like you hear fat acceptance creators talking about how weight loss is not body positive. But like in my mind, making the decision to get weight loss surgery and lose weight and start living a healthier life was the most body positive thing I've ever done for myself,
Mm-hmm.
because it has treated my body much better than what I was doing before. I have flipped all of those internal issues, like
Mm-hmm.
blood issues, organ issues. Everything's working as it should now. Um, I am capable of doing so much more, which makes me feel more fulfilled in my life. I am way more self sufficient than I ever was before, um, which is really important. Like, I mean, now I live with my girlfriend, but when I was single, like, I had to do a lot of things for myself that I would not have been able to do if I was 300 pounds. And um, yeah, I really, really hate when they say that losing weight is fat phobic or isn't body positive, because like it's one of the best things you can do for your body if you are obese. Like that.
Yeah.
And even if you don't wind up, because like I am still considered obese by BMI
Mm-hmm.
standards, and I think it'll take a lot, or if I ever get to like the overweight category, um, I think that'll take a long time for me to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm still way happier and way healthier than I was before. Um, and yeah, I think countering that is like it's really important to be able to look at it from both angles. And I used to work at a activewear store when I first moved to Denver, um, and I would always tell, because primarily we only had women's clothes for the time that I worked there, um, and they always put me in fitting rooms because apparently I was just really good at talking to customers. But I would like I'd have women like almost like crying and looking in the mirror, like just hating their bodies. And because trying on activewear is like a very vulnerable experience because it's so tight fitting and like everything is out there. And I always told them, I was like, if you can't change it in under 30 seconds, like don't dwell on it too much. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, if you want to change it, then take the steps to do that. But like, don't hate yourself into doing it because that's not going to help. Um, and like, it should be a big act of self love for you to make those changes. And whatever they might be, either weight gain or weight loss or whatever, muscle growth, muscle building, whatever. Um, but like, if you can't change it in under 30 seconds, like, don't dwell on it too much and just be proactive in making those changes over time to ultimately benefit you. And um, yeah, that's like a big thing that I talk about a lot just with people in general, because it really makes me sad when I talk about my weight loss and stuff, and like, especially to other women, and they're like, oh yeah, like, I could stand to lose like 10 or 20 pounds too, like, I'm fat, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, hold on, chill out, like, you're fine. um, it took me like a year and some change to lose 100 pounds with weight loss surgery. So, like, you're gonna get there if you want to, but don't hate yourself over like through the process, because that's not productive either.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it's, but I also think it has to do a lot with like the diet industry and like that kind of stuff, and how they make things out to be, and how they like basically demonize fatness, and how like they make it seem so shameful. Um, so it's like shaming people into losing weight, which I don't think works for most people. So yeah.
Thank you for the $5, Anthony McKinney. Appreciate you. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Knockoff Tasty. Mountain Zod. Good to see you guys. Intuitive Duck. Steve. Nevermore. Awesome. Glad you all are here. Yeah, when I just don't understand how you can connect body positivity and obesity. It boggles my mind because I think about all the consequences. There's societal consequences, there's physical consequences, there's intimacy consequences, relationship consequences. I mean, it's all there. And I've lived every single ounce of it. And
Yeah.
so when I think of obesity, I can't connect that to positivity or happiness. I connect it to misery and pain and loss. And um, so
Yeah.
for them to just stand up and say I'm body positive, so I'm going to stay fat, I don't get it. I can't fathom it.
I think you can be, because for me, I stand by the fact that, like, you do whatever you want to do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if it's ultimately not affecting me, like, I don't care. But if you're gonna spread misinformation on the internet to like young people, that's where I draw the line. But like, I think being body positive when you're obese is important when it comes to weight loss. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very important thing to keep you going and
Yeah.
to keep you motivated. Um, because like, but even I, like, my body image issues and stuff have gotten worse since I've lost weight, and so that's been a whole other like thing that I have been grappling with. Um, and uh, and a lot of it is like I have a hanging belly still, and like all of that kind of stuff, like things that are associated with like being obese still. And but a lot of it's loose skin at this point because I carried a lot of my weight in my midsection. Um, and but I think sometimes I have to like sit with myself, and I talk about this in therapy a lot. Therapy is also crucial for weight loss. um, but I sit with myself and I'm like, Megan, you can do so much more than you were able to do like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, you care about how much you can deadlift and whatever. Like, that's insane. I never would have thought I would have gotten to that point in my life ever. Um, and so I think the body positive, I think remaining positive about yourself for the most part is like crucial to starting a weight loss journey or maintaining a weight loss journey and maintaining a weight loss journey. And I think when you are obese, you can be body positive. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think anybody should be able to see beauty in themselves and love
Yeah.
themselves because that's really, really important. Um, and but like I said, if you want to make changes, then like go for it. Like, it'll only make your life better if you want to make a change that you've been thinking, or if you start making a change that you've been thinking about making for a long time. And yeah, so I think it's hard to see. I think there's a very thin line between just being able to see beauty in yourself and being happy in your life, no matter what body size you are.
Mm-hmm.
But then just believing misinformation, spreading
Yeah.
misinformation about that and about the health repercussions that might come along with it. Um, I think there's a very thin line between those two things because, like, I don't like for me to again, whenever I see like plus size people like winning or whatever, I still feel some sort of like gratification about it because it's just a big move for society, and I never saw that growing up ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really nice to see like not like fat people not just being in media as like the butt of the joke or whatever, or like the side characters. It's cool seeing them be actually represented correctly or just as people. Um, and so that I don't know. Because I don't think that like body positivity people are glorifying obesity by any means.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
some of them, yes, but like a fat person just existing on the internet, like showing off their outfits or
Yeah.
whatever, to me is not glorifying obesity. Um,
I mean,
and yeah, it's
that
a nuanced conversation again.
yeah, especially if they're showing off like sportswear. Like I know people would give Tess Holliday, and I'm not saying I'm a fan of hers, but they would give her a lot of slack for you're glorifying obesity by showing that women can look good in these workout attire.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well, Tess
well,
Holliday's whole Fabletics thing was just a big money grab.
oh, was
Like,
it?
I firmly believe that. Yeah. But no, it's true though. But like, seeing someone at the time, like, it was cool seeing someone of that size in activewear working on themselves. Like,
Yeah,
that's like going to the gym, living a healthy lifestyle. Because you don't have to go to the gym necessarily to lose weight. If you just want to if you just want to move and like be healthy, go to the gym. And so I think seeing someone of her size do that was really cool and
yeah.
promoted a good thing.
I mean,
Um,
yeah. If you think that buying some sexy workout wear would make you want to go to the gym and make you feel more
which it
confident
does.
in yourself,
Yeah,
then that's great. Like you can be a big person and promote this workout stuff. If it was a,
absolutely.
I
And
wasn't
I
commenting on the
actually,
cash grab side of that. I didn't know,
yeah.
But
It's a whole thing.
yeah, but yeah, I
But it
mean,
was still cool. And like when she was on the cover of Cosmo, to me, I was so stoked about that. Like seeing that was super cool for me. And yeah, and I will stand by that. I do not like her, but I seeing her on the cover of Cosmo was very cool. Was a cool moment for it. Healed my inner teen a lot seeing that, because like for me, I became so accustomed to seeing like thin women on the cover of Cosmo with like sex tips and stuff and whatever. And so I like my mind flipped that to like, oh, you're not sexually desirable because you're fat, and only thin women are on the cover of Cosmo, and they're the like ultimate guide to women's sex lives, which is not true, but like young Megan thought that.
yeah.
And so seeing her on the cover of Cosmo was like very cool to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm.
And I still think so, even after losing weight and everything. But yeah.
All right, so I have one more question for you, and I asked Kayla the same question, but what do you think about people in the fat acceptance movement hijacking other movements and comparing themselves to other marginalized groups? I know you're very active in talking about LGBT and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
those movements are necessary, but people who are fat acceptance leaders sort of hijack those movements and compare
They do.
themselves and saying fat phobia is equivalent to racism, or it is
Yeah.
racist, or
Yeah.
it's the same as homophobia or anything else like that. What do you think about that?
So I actually just made like a mammoth of a video on this whole topic a few weeks ago. I think it's like over an hour long. But it took me forever to script it because I went into um, how they compare it to racism, how they constantly bring black women into the conversation, how they always compare it to being to like or saying that it's like ableist, like that act like being um, against or being fat phobic or whatever is also ableist. Um, Bringing the disabled community into their conversation. I talked about the LGBTQ stuff. And then, because what really pushed me over the edge to make that video was when I heard them compare fat phobia to eugenics like one too many times. And
Yeah.
because that is such a common thing that they talk about, and it is like so alarming. I'm like, this is not the same thing at all. Like, are people actively, like, coming into your home, kidnapping you, bringing you to a medical facility, and sterilizing you?
Mhm.
No, that's not happening. And, yeah, I don't agree with that at all, and I really hate that they do that because I've been told a lot that, and it made me realize, like, how much of an issue them bringing in certain ideologies into their fat activism, how much of an issue that is, because I've been told so many times by people in my comments that like they expected to come into my video not agreeing with me because I look like a stereotypical like fat acceptance lefty person.
Mhm.
And like I am very liberal, like I am. Like I will put that out there right now. But they're like, you make very good points, and you actually are very intelligent. And I'm
Mhm.
like, thanks, I guess. Um, and so, but I feel like now with them bringing all these things into their one fat activism movement, it kind of cheapens the other things that actually need to be talked about.
Mhm.
And um, what also really bothers me, again, when they bring in like racism, but specifically black women, like I'm not a black woman, obviously, but I listen to black women and I consume a lot of content from black women. And like being a black woman is like, it's such a struggle. Like it comes with a lot of struggles that they cannot control. And um, which, like, yes, there are compounding things. Like, I can see how being a fat black woman could be worse, or quote unquote worse, than, like, being a fat white woman, but just don't bring people of color struggles like into your conversation. Like, it's because it's not, it doesn't make any sense. And they're always like, body positivity was started by fat black women, which is just not true. Um, it was started by like fat F words, like for the like like people who are very sexually attracted to fat women.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and I really just can't handle it when they bring in the racism thing and like the black women thing, because like that is a whole other conversation that has nothing to do with being fat. And also in that video I talked about too, they are so vocal about all of this, right? To the point where like they make whole TikTok accounts about it, whole podcasts about it, and a lot of them identify as part of the LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, amazing. Use that platform to talk about that stuff. They don't talk about it. And like, it's a really scary time to especially be trans right now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them identify as like non-binary or trans or whatever. And none of them, at least from what I have seen, have talked about any of the stuff that's going on right now. They still continue to use their platform to like be victims and whine about being fat. When like I am fat, I have been fat. I am also gay, and my partner is trans, and I am more scared now, right now, because of the climate of everything that's happening, than I ever have been in my entire life being fat. Like, I just think it's ridiculous that nobody's talking about it, and that they also I've never seen them like conflate fat phobia with homophobia, but I just think their lack of talking about it when they're part of the community is just really irresponsible. And also, my mom's disabled through things that were not in her control, which like being fat is not always in your control, but it is something that you can change. And so the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they just automatically are like, I'm disabled, you're ableist, I'm like, but you can lose weight. Like, yeah, it'll be hard. It might be harder for you than other people. Like, you can change it, and like, don't bring like the disabled community into this either, because some of the healthiest people I have met have been disabled people,
Mm-hmm.
and because they have to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I hate it. I hate that they bring all those issues into their argument to try and bring some sort of merit to it, because I think in my mind it just looks silly. But I can also understand how it could strengthen the argument to people, to young people who don't have like critical thinking skills yet. Like, and that's what's scary to me. Um, but yeah, I hate it.
I mean,
I could go on for a really long time.
even for me, I'm a strong Christian conservative, and I hate it when I see them. Like, I know a lot of the issues you talk about are very important, and I know
Yeah,
that there's things that even my side of the political spectrum doesn't even touch, and I wish that they would.
yeah,
Um, and so it just bothers me because it's like when I cover any fat activist, they're usually white liberal women,
mm-hmm.
and it's like you guys are making so many things that need attention worse off because people do not want to take you seriously because people realize that yeah, you can change your size. You can't change your skin color, you can't change your sexual orientation, you can't
No,
change any of that, but you
no,
can change your weight, and you're just conflating the two by making it like you're just downtrodden marginalized groups that need attention, and you're just stealing all the glory and attention for yourself.
I feel like a lot of them are what kind of drive that like blue-haired liberal, like septum-ringed person stereotype that you always hear
Yeah.
like more conservative people on the internet talking about. And so it's like, yeah, people present themselves a certain way, and that is I feel like a lot of people who are against like liberal ideologies and stuff
Hmm.
conflate the fat acceptance people with like the LGBTQ community or the black community or whatever now, because they overlap so much. But a lot of people in those other in those other categories uh, are I just feel like they get compared a lot, and they're not the same at all. When because a lot of people in those other like actually targeted groups don't agree with fat acceptance rhetoric a lot of the times,
Mm-hmm.
and because I've also been told a lot from people in my comment section that it's really nice to have someone like me who's vocally like pro LGBTQ, like pro like just BLM, like that kind of stuff in the anti-fat acceptance community, because a lot of the anti-fat acceptance community are very, very outspoken, dare I say, like bigoted right-wing people. And I think there's a way to be both left-leaning, liberal, pro all these people, pro like just people in
Mm-hmm.
general, just having rights to be able to
Yeah.
do what they want, and not not agreeing with all the fat acceptance rhetoric. I think that you can be both, and I think it's just an interesting kind of thing that I've never really realized until I started making content about how much of the uh, right, I guess. I don't. It's hard because like I don't like the separation. I don't like how divided everything is. But like how much the right, um, like kind of has taken fat acceptance as a reason to also hate liberal people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you there, and
yeah,
I also hate how divided it is because it's like
yeah,
people think that you and I should hate one another because we're on opposite
yeah,
ends, but it's like just because I am a conservative does not mean I am a hateful, bigoted, Trump
right,
supporting,
right,
whatever. It's like I
yeah, and
love people. Like I don't care who you
yeah,
are. Like I love you. I care for you, and I respect you, and I respect your beliefs. And I believe we all want the same thing. We just have different ideas on how to get there.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like,
And I think it sucks that it has gotten to where it is now, both with the division and also now the people that it's like harming, just in the who just happen to be existing at the same time.
yeah,
And yeah, it's scary and it's sad and it sucks that sometimes fat acceptance people cheapen the arguments of actually targeted groups in society, because they constantly bring them into their weird arguments.
hmm,
So yeah, that it really bothers me. I think I just got like really triggered with all the stuff that's going on across the country in terms of like the LGBTQ stuff, because it's like very scary. Um, but also when I heard them comparing things to like eugenics and stuff like that, I just got super triggered and I just like hyper fixated on scripting this big long video on all of that because it just bothered me. I was
yeah,
over it. I was done. And um, yeah. So, and I honestly didn't talk a lot about like bringing black women into it because like I don't feel like it's my place to talk about that
yeah,
experience. I went to other black creators to talk, like to learn about their experiences and their thoughts and feelings, and there's a lot of great content about it on YouTube that is not from me. But everything else, like I am LGBTQ. I have a disabled mother, like so. I felt like I had a place to talk about it when it came to those kinds of things. So, yeah, it sucks that
yeah,
they're kind of like cheapening the argument a lot.
yeah. That's why I often sort of leave certain topics alone, and I ask you and Kayla. I'm like, as a woman, how does this make you feel and stuff? Because it's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm a straight white guy.
And
Like
it
I
is
don't.
amazing that you recognize
Yeah,
that.
it's like there's things I don't understand. I consider myself a student of everything. I know there's things I'm
Mm-hmm.
ignorant in, and I know there's things that I can still learn.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know I know there's areas where I can grow.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's ways that I can learn to love people better. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the world would be better if we all sort of saw ourselves that way.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because
Yeah. One of my big things is like, and I don't talk about this a lot on my platform. I don't think I've actually talked about it at all. But my dad's a retired police officer, and so I love my dad. My dad is like one of my favorite people, But he's always been willing to learn. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's always been willing, because, like, I grew up in theater and band and the arts and stuff, and so, like, he was just surrounded by gay people and, like, me and, like, all that kind of stuff, and he never cared about any of that, and, like, he was always labeled, like, the good one and that kind of thing. And he's the definition of, like, a good police officer. And, like, I know I have a bias saying that, but I've talked to other people who were like, that he pulled over and that he dealt with a lot, and they were like, yeah, he was a really good police officer. So I'm like, okay, cool. um, and but he taught me a lot about just being open to talking to people and, like,
Mm-hmm.
having a conversation with people and being able to look at things from both sides and then form your own opinions. But also not just closing off an entire group of people because you may
Exactly.
not necessarily disagree with, or you might not necessarily agree with them. And, like, I'll talk to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to debate anybody because, like, that gives me anxiety, but, like, I'll have a conversation with anybody. And but just so long as they'll listen to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, because I feel like now we're kind of getting to a point where people just don't want to listen either.
Mm-hmm.
And just so long as they'll listen to me, I'll talk to anybody. I don't care. Like, that's what keeps things moving forward and in a good direction, is people being able to talk to each other and learn about each other's lived experiences. And I realized that big time when I moved to, like, a city from a very small town, and I started just meeting people from all walks of life. And I thought I was a very open-minded person, and I realized that I had a lot of biases that I needed to work through just from my raise and everything. And I feel like I've done a good job of doing that. But being able to admit that about yourself is really important,
Mm-hmm.
and just being able to be like, hey, I'm an idiot when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. And, like, that's how you learn. That's how we move forward. And I just to bring it back to the question, like, I think the fat acceptance community is really hindering that,
Mm-hmm.
by just saying, like, the most outlandish shit online to the point where people are just like, this is dumb. I'm going to keep moving on.
And
And
it
yeah,
breaks my heart because it just heaps more hate on people who don't deserve
yeah,
it, you know?
yeah, it absolutely does. And it also hurts fat people. It hurts the fat community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, with these weird people on the internet saying really dumb stuff, people are going to project that onto all fat people, thinking that they think those things. And it does not. Again, I just think a lot of what they do is very counterproductive. Like, it's very counterproductive
Mm-hmm.
because they're very, like, us versus them. And it sucks, but to get a message across, you have to take the high road, and you have to be able to kind of empathize or meet some common ground with people you don't agree with. And they don't do that. They're just like, you're wrong, I'm right. Like, that, that's it. And yeah, so
Yeah,
they're not really. I think a lot of it is very counterproductive. So
you're not even allowed to leave the movement once you start it. Like, you'll
no,
lose all
and
your
luckily I didn't.
friends. You'll lose.
Yeah, luckily I never experienced that when I, like, very, like, very well, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I was making it very obvious that I was leaving. Like, I was very intently left. Like, I needed to leave that space to have a successful weight loss journey. And luckily I wasn't, like, friends with anybody in it or anything. Um, so nobody really noticed. But I have heard just horror stories of, I mean, look at Gabriella Lascano, the plus size model that came out, was like, hey, this actually isn't a good thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm experiencing it. That was huge. And the
Mm-hmm.
pushback she got was insane. It was awful. And I'm like, dude, she's literally just talking about her own experience and, like, heeding a word of warning to, like, younger people on TikTok. I think that's very responsible of her,
Mm-hmm.
because she's been a fave of mine for a really long time. And so, like, seeing her come to and talk about that, I'm like, this is incredible. Like, this is awesome. But she also is still actively very much loving herself
Mm-hmm.
as a fat person while losing weight. Like, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, but the pushback she got was just not surprising, but, like, was very weird. Like, they went to some weird. They stretched. to make some points, and they did not make any sense. And that was the first time anyone had ever responded to me publicly, so that was really fun. I was called a racist and classist, and yeah, so hooray. I'm like, okay, whatever, I guess. I know I'm not either of those things, but okay.
Well, Megan, I'm sure we could talk 24 hours like I wanted to get
Yes.
Kayla to do, but she refused to do it. She had to work. She's not
I
committed.
know.
Uh,
I have to do that too. So it's really something. Responsibilities. Sponsorabilities suck. Let me tell you.
well, thank you for coming on Big
Thanks for
Talks with
having
Big
me.
T. We would love to have you back.
Yeah.
Um,
You're gonna be on my channel soon.
I am.
My life needs to like calm down so I can actually do something. But yes, you're gonna be on my channel very soon. So
As
I'm
soon as
excited about
possible.
that.
Like I can't tell you how many
Yes.
times I've gotten an email. Well, I'm sorry, this
I
came up, and I'm
know.
like,
I
I
know.
totally get it. Life is crazy for a lot of people
I
right
got
now.
sick for 2 weeks, and now I have someone coming to look at my apartment tomorrow because me and my girlfriend are moving into a new one. And so, it was all very unexpected. Now she's sick, and life's been nuts for the past, like, 3 weeks. So, you've been very kind. But you are going to be on my channel. It is happening. So, I'm not ghosting you, I promise.
Oh no, yeah, there was no moment where I thought she's trying to get out of this. She's trying to get out of this. No, it was. I
No,
I totally
I'm
understand.
usually not a
I've
freaky
had times
person.
like that.
Yeah. But yes, thank you for having me on your channel, and I'm excited to have you on mine.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'll have to make a video with you too one time, and
Yeah. Ah.
we'll have to get all that together. But thank you very much for
Yes.
coming on, and
Yeah.
thank you for everybody who hung out and asked questions
Yes.
and chatted. We thank you very much. We love you guys, and we will see
Yes.
you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.